Delighted to welcome the next guest speaker. He also has an incredible book, which I just have noticed as one here, which I've read cover to cover, which I would recommend, Digitally Curious, The Guide to Navigating AI and Tech. And actually, it's going to be really special this evening, because we only have 15 minutes with him. And what that means, and anyone who's been to see a really good band in concert, no matter how good they are, there's always the album fillers and the B-sides and the stuff that nobody's rarely here to see. So with 15 minutes, we're going to get only the greatest hits. I am delighted to welcome Andrew Grills.
Thanks, Steve. No B-sides tonight, so you're going to get all my greatest hits, and it's great to be here. What I want to start, though, is by asking all of you something I've asked many people for the last 7 or 8 years, tens of thousands of people, and that is, are you digitally curious? And I bet you're all saying now, of course, I am Andrew, we're at a Dell event, we're in AI. So we're going to find out now in this room how digitally curious you are. So it's a simple show of hands, no technology involved. Raise your hand if you've used AI to create an image. Wow, fantastic. This one here is my favourite. Zebra's drinking in a water hole. Show of hands, who's made their action figure? Yeah, you can collect the whole set. A few of you, fantastic. Okay. Not that one. You can't, that's unique, that one. You've got that one. Okay, collect the whole set. Who's used AI to summarise a meeting? Most people. Okay, normally I have half the hands up. This is a very curious audience. That's fantastic. Okay, show of hands. Who was born after 1983? And a few Gen X's and Y's here. I've been online longer than you've been alive. Back in 1983, I was dialing up things. Remember that sound? Trying to connect, dialing up, yeah. I knew back in 1983 that I was hooked on this online thing. Dad had to get a second phone line. I was always dialed up. Steve's already given you the plug. I wrote a book called Digitally Curious. He's actually on the back cover because he gave me a great quote. But the reason I want to show that, not just because I'm very proud of it, is that what I try and get everyone to do, and I want to encourage you to get someone at work to also do this, is be really digitally curious, to play with the tools that you talk about all the time, because some of the people that are making the decisions are people that I get asked to go and speak to, and they're scratching their heads. They're saying, we're not quite sure what to do, where to start. Andrew, help us out here. I really believe, though, that the future belongs to the curious. Whenever I mention my concept of digital curiosity, people go, yeah, that curiosity, being curious really will move you through any technical change and any new thing that gets thrown at us. But for you and for everyone else, the last 2 years have been quite accelerated because I think we've seen 10 years of innovation in just 2. When ChatGPT came onto the scene, it took everyone by surprise. It's constantly being updated and those sorts of things. And I think there are a number of industries, education is a good one, where they're just not quite sure what to do. And I'm at the coalface. I've done nearly 50 events this year in the first half of the year. I'm in at senior levels. I'm in organisations like yours. And everyone is having similar issues. The rate of change is just too fast. So how do we adopt that? And Steve mentioned also that I was a contributor to the 5 for 25. There are a number of copies lying around. I'm sure there's a PDF as well. This is a really good view of the 5 trends that are going to really impact this industry in the next year. And I've only got 15 minutes, so instead of 5, I'm going to look at 3. And the first one is that AI will move from concept to reality. We kind of know that. The show of hands shows me that almost 100% of you are using this thing on a regular basis. And I tried really hard, and I had to use AI to find some current stats on AI adoption. And I came across something from a company called Moneypenny. They did a survey back in April, May of about 750 decision makers. And they said that 31% are considering AI, 28% are fully embracing it, 40% are adopting it. So 60, 70% of people are actively doing something around AI. Is it the right thing? That's another discussion as well. Look at some of the great standouts, what the NHS is doing. They've got a couple of really interesting projects that I found. One is a fall detector, using sensors and AI to predict whether someone is likely to have a fall at home. And it's saving about £1 million a day in not having to send people out and care for them. Rolls-Royce are using AI for decisions. And often I tell my clients, consider using AI as a decision partner. If you've got a really difficult decision and you've got something that's got more capability because of speed and scale to look through all the data you've got, that's a really good use of it as well. So I think what we're seeing is that, yes, AI is being adopted and Gen AI is moving forward. I get asked all the time, though, by every audience, Andrew, will AI take my job? And I'm sure many of you have heard this phrase that AI won't replace people, but people who use AI will replace people who don't. I think we actually have to add a third leg to that AI demands better people. Not nicer people or smarter people, but if you're being served up as a thought partner, as a decision partner, these great insights, are we ready to use it? Are we ready to make those decisions that can actually transform our business? What I want to play you next is a video that I've been playing all year. It's actually John Rose, the global CTO of Dell, and I was privileged to be in the front row of the AI forum last November. And when this video came out, I chopped it up into a 1-minute grab. And I'm not just playing this because I'm here at a Dell event. I use this in every single presentation because John makes a lot of sense, and there are 3 key messages I want you to take from it.
What makes your organization special? What is it about your company that differentiates you? Because the purpose of AI is to give you an advantage. At Dell, we went through that exercise, and it's pretty obvious. We picked 4 things that make us special: our global supply chain, our global service organization, our global sales capability, and our global engineering capability. If any of those 4 get better in a material way, I win. In our sales activity, we know that our sales force is a powerful entity. It's the biggest enterprise sales force in the world. They have great effectiveness when they're in front of customers. We then did the process analysis and found that 40% of their time is preparing to get in front of customers. That is not valuable. And it turns out the problem in there was not they're doing something wrong, it's just they're navigating hundreds of sources of content and they spend all kinds of time finding information and organizing it before they come and talk to you. Sounds like a very good Gen AI use case. And so we are doing that. But imagine if every salesperson in Dell could be in front of customers 30% more. Material impact, I will make more money, I will win in the market, I will be successful. So that's the first step. Know what problem you are solving and make sure it aligns to your business and it's specific enough that you can do something with AI to it.
So why I like that grab so much is the 3 things that really stand out to me is what makes your organization special. He mentioned the 4 levers that if you pull them, it can actually accelerate Dell's growth there as well. Also, what problem are you solving? I'm sure everyone comes to you saying we're doing AI, but AI isn't always the answer. And that example there of 30% improvement from the sales force, if you extrapolate that into what you're charging out if you're a lawyer or you're an accountant, every company would like to have a 30% improvement. Often what it takes, though, I've found, is actually leading people to the answer. I give them an example like this. They go, I didn't know AI could do that. So while we are all AI enthusiasts, we're all AI experts in many ways, sometimes it requires you to help your teams be more digitally curious and give them some of those use cases. Yes. Second one I want to pull out is that AI agents will be everywhere. Now, I'm expecting the answer to this. Show of hands, who knows what an AI agent is or agentic AI? Most. Okay, last night at a small or medium event across the road, I had 1 hand go up. So if you watch your LinkedIn feed, everyone's talking about AI agents and agentic AI. It is still developing. And what we're predicting is that by the end of the year, they will be everywhere and everyone will be talking about them. What AI agents are, or agentic AI, it's moving beyond Gen AI. Because Gen AI is great at developing things and giving us the answer, but they're thinkers, not doers. We're still the doers. It gives us an answer. We have to go off and implement it. So what we're going to see from agents, and it's going to start small with little agents moving to bigger agents, is actually helping us do some of those heavy lifting jobs. Because what agentic AI will do is basically perceive, reason, and then take action. And I found a really interesting use case from Vodafone where, as a huge network operator, they've got lots of things they need to optimize, and they've got a project called Vodafone Vina. And these little agents go off and do things in their network, optimizing all sorts of things like cell towers and frequencies and all those sort of things. And what they're finding is it allows their engineers to actually think more broadly rather than fixing all those little problems inside their network. And Hiscox are actually using it also for insurance processing. So we're going to see a lot of agents that are going to be used for those small little tasks where we want to optimize that. And if you want a good example of how agents work, when I was at IBM, I was lucky I had an executive assistant called Karen. And let me give you an example. An email will come into my inbox saying, Andrew, we need you at headquarters next week for a meeting. Karen would take that. She would go, okay, Andrew, we're going to put you on a BA flight. We know the seat you like. We're going to book you into Hotel the Hilton in New York. We know where you like to stay as well, and it'd be in my diary. In a way, Karen was being an AI agent. going off and doing all those little things that actually can be automated. So we're going to see a lot more of that happening as well. What I want to use as an analogy, though, is because what I tell all my clients is that AI is going to fundamentally change how work gets done. And when I say that, people go, no, it's just for drawing silly drawings and all those sorts of things. No, I think it's a fundamental change. Let me explain why. I want to use the analogy of the internal combustion engine. See, the engine wasn't a product. It was basically a machine that converted energy into work, in this case, mechanical work. And we then looked at changing how work got done. The farmer no longer ploughed with a cow. They basically sat in a tractor powered by an internal combustion engine. Everything changed. Transportation networks changed. Petrol stations existed. Cars were invented. It was a fundamental change from one invention. And I think AI is actually much the same. AI, in this case, looks at intellectual work. And importantly, it changes how and who does work, in this case, cognitive work, how we think about things. And I think we're going to have to think very differently in the age of AI. And I encourage people to think of AI as your cognitive partner, that thought partner that helps you make better decisions. Who's here has heard of Where's Wally, the Where's Wally cartoons? Yeah, many people. Often in other countries, I have to explain what it is. So for those who haven't seen Where's Wally, Wally is in there somewhere. He has a red and white hat and he has a red and white striped top. And your mission as a child, and I love these, was to find Wally somewhere in here. So the analogy I give there is, imagine this beach scene is actually your data, your organization, your competition, your market. And you want to find Wally buried in there, the gold in that data. So being the curious person I am, I thought, I wonder if I can get AI to find Wally. So I used Perplexity. All I said was, find Wally in this picture. No context, not even what Wally looked like, or it was a cartoon. I said, circle Wally in red. It found Wally. I didn't even know it could do that. And when I give that analogy, then you say, well, that's finding the gold in the data that's there. And you don't have to give it all the context. It goes off and does that. And people said, oh, it's seen this before, but it's, in a way, I think it's a really good analogy. And I think also we're going to see the arrival of the always-on company expert. Those of you that have started to implement GPTs inside your organization, that's where I think the most improvement we'll see, because you're going to be surfacing data that is hidden and you're going to be able to find that Wally. Now, what I'm going to say next is somewhat controversial. I think 2025, we're going to start to see AI on your org chart. It's not going away. It's an entity that's there. So why don't we actually embrace it? So we've got our human workers and all of these AI agents as well. So we're going to go from org chart to a work chart. The org chart is basically who knows what departments and roles, and the work charts is what needs doing, jobs to be done, and workflows. And when you think about it that way, then we can embrace AI and not think about jobs being lost. And I think also we might start seeing the rise of the AI-powered board. Not to replace boards totally, let me give you a personal example. I sit on a charity board here in London. I've been on the board for 2 years. I've seen 2 years of financials and 2 years of meeting minutes. The organisation has been around for 60 years. Imagine training it with all of the financial statements, all the information, all the competitive intelligence. And there's a critical business decision to be made. Do you ask the board director of 2 years? Or do you ask someone who's seen 60 years? So when I put that forward, people go, it's not such a crazy idea. It's just those use cases that people haven't thought about yet. And the final trend I want to look at is the notion of sovereign AI. Who here knows what sovereign AI is? It's not necessarily about kings and queens having AI systems. It's basically, I'm going to read my little definition here. It's the ability of a nation or organization to build, deploy, and control artificial intelligence using its own infrastructure, data, workforce, and business networks to ensure autonomy, security, and compliance with local regulations. We used to say that data was the new oil. I remember my former IBM CEO, Ginny Rometty, would always say, data's the new oil. I think now that compute is the new oil. And we're seeing an arms race of people wanting to get as much compute power as possible. A few weeks ago, there was an announcement on stage at London Tech Week that basically the UK government is going to invest another, I think, 187 million for AI-related education. And there's also a sovereign AI industry forum that's been developed. And Jensen here from NVIDIA said, the AI is one of the largest AI ecosystems in the world that doesn't have its own infrastructure. So we need to change that. So we're going to see a lot of talk about sovereign AI. And there's also the Opportunities Action Plan that Matt Clifford wrote for the government. He had 50 recommendations, which the government has said they're going to adopt all 50, which includes sovereign AI. Now, in my 15 minutes, no B-sides here, what I often leave with is the fact that I've thrown a lot of information at you. The great thing is, though, that everyone in this room has the resources to solve all the problems at work. I often say that there are two tribes in every organization. There's the going digital, some represented here tonight, very senior, very experienced, but digital skills are developing. Then you have the born digital. Their first toy was a smartphone. They live and breathe this. And often I encourage people to get these two tribes together. And so while many of you run hackathons to solve data problems and infrastructure issues, consider running a hackathon with those two tribes to discuss what you're going to do next with AI. And often that's the one idea that I have that really resonates, and people come and they say, Andrew, you've given me a huge headache. Everyone wants to run a hackathon. Sounds like a lot of fun. We can get the two tribes together and basically get them talking about how we can use AI to solve our business problems. I mentioned I've got the book also as a podcast, and Steve's been on the podcast. That's how we met. Lots of really great resources on lots of podcasts. And I'm going to leave you with 5 things that I think you should be looking at today, tomorrow, next week. The first is be more digitally curious. You're already doing that, but are you setting aside time every week to play with some of these new tools and look at the things you're learning about? Try out 5 new AI tools. Show of hands, who's heard of Google's Notebook LM? A few. It's the one that converts data into podcasts. Blew my mind when I did it. So the ones that haven't heard about some of these tools, the last slide is a QR code that lists all the tools that I've been playing with. Look at Dell's 5 for 25. There are copies around here. It is a really good view of where those 5 trends are that are going to shake things up this year. Look at an AI action plan. If you're in an area where you can actually help that or develop that, that's something you should be looking at. And also run a hackathon. QR code here, scan it, bookmark it. On that are a bunch of tools, a bunch of websites, a bunch of podcasts, and a bunch of books that you should look at. I am here all night. I encourage you to be more digitally curious and embrace AI. Thank you very much. We're here this evening at the Dell Executive Forum to really celebrate what's happening in AI, but also to look at the Dell 5 for 25. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how people embrace some of the trends that we're looking at and how AI will actually evolve this year and next.
So we're here on this beautiful night in an amazing rooftop venue in London to really talk about everything AI. We've got customers and partners from public and private. We've had a series of panel sessions, an incredibly inspiring session from Andrew Grill talking about the future of AI and where it's heading, and really encouraging us to be digitally curious.
We were really fortunate tonight to have our strong representation from our fabulous partners, Intel and Computer Center. We're doing fantastic things together, unlocking innovation and helping drive use cases for our customers and accelerate time to value on their journey.
Bringing the power of the 3 organisations together is really compelling. In this new era, building ecosystems and building partnerships is a really powerful thing to do.
Of course, everybody really wants to understand the future of AI, how we adopt it, and who's going to do that first.
We work very closely together across multiple industries, including AI, and it's good to speak to customers together about their challenges and how they can move forward in a productive way.
My prediction for the future is that we're not going to know what it looks like, and we need to prepare for unpredictability.